What happened to the American dream? It used to be a simple promise. Work hard, and you'll get ahead. Your kids will have it better than you did. But today, for millions, that promise feels broken. Let's look at the numbers. 2 generations ago, almost 90% of people in their 30s earned more than their parents did at the same age. Today, that number has plummeted to just 50%. It's a coin toss. Half of our young adults aren't climbing, they're just trying to hang on. To understand how we got here, we have to go back to the years after World War II. From the late 40s to the 70s, America saw a golden age for the middle class. A single income could often buy a home, raise a family, and even send a kid to college. Sure, inequality existed, but the tide was lifting most boats. We built highways, suburbs, and a shared belief that tomorrow would always be brighter. But then, the story changed. Starting in the 1980s, something began to diverge. Globalization, new technology, and policy shifts started to reshape the economy. In 1980, the average CEO made about 30 times more than their average worker. By 2020, that ratio exploded to over 350 to 1. American workers became more productive than ever, creating immense value, but their paychecks didn't keep up. The rewards flowed to the top, to shareholders and executives, while the middle class began to shrink. In 1970, about 60% of households were middle class. Today, it's less than half. A single medical bill or a rent hike can now be the one thing that pushes a family into poverty. Last year, over 38 million Americans lived below the poverty line, and more than 11 million of them were children. Education, once the ultimate ladder to success, tells a similar story. A college degree used to be a golden ticket. Now it often comes with a crushing burden. Total student loan debt in the US has ballooned to over $1.7 trillion. Graduates are trapped, paying for a degree that no longer guarantees upward mobility. At the same time, housing costs have outpaced wages by nearly 150% since the 80s. Making home ownership the cornerstone of the American dream feel like an impossible fantasy for many. But this isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about what happens to the spirit of a nation when it starts to lose hope. For decades, Americans believed the system was fair. Now, over 70% of young adults think it's rigged against them. You see it everywhere. People working 2 or 3 jobs. Able to save, unable to afford health care, unable to even think about the future. The proud belief that each generation would do better has been replaced by a quiet, simmering frustration. Economists call this the Great Decoupling. Think of it like this. From 1945 to the early 70s, as the country's productivity rose, so did workers' wages. They moved together, hand in hand. But after 1973, those lines split. Productivity shot up by over 250%, but average hourly pay has barely budged. Workers kept building a stronger economy, but the economy stopped building them back. The wealth gap today is staggering. The richest 1% of Americans now control nearly a third of the country's wealth, while the entire bottom 50% holds just over 2%. This isn't just unfair. Experts warn it's unsustainable, and it threatens the very foundations of our society. And yet, people still try. Immigrants, single parents, blue-collar workers, they still get up every day believing that hard work has to count for something. They were told to study hard, go to college, and succeed, only to find the rules have changed and the ladder is missing rungs. The irony is haunting. America is one of the wealthiest nations in history, but for millions of its citizens, that wealth is completely invisible. It's an abstract number in a stock portfolio they'll never own. This crisis is even showing up in our life expectancy, which has started to fall for working-class Americans, driven by what are called deaths of despair. When half the country can no longer get ahead, the American dream starts to look like a myth. But history shows us that moments of collapse can also lead to a reckoning. Just as the labor movements of the early 20th century reshaped our economy, a new call for economic justice is growing louder. We see it in movements for fair wages, for debt forgiveness, for affordable health care. Some see this as the rebirth of the American dream, not as something that's given, but as something that must be fought for. The question isn't whether the dream is dead, but whether we have the courage to rebuild it. That belief still flickers in the families working night shifts, in the teachers paying for school supplies out of their own pockets, in the young people who refuse to give up. Because in the end, dreams don't just collapse quietly. They rise again in the hands of those who still dare to believe. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe for more content that explores the issues shaping our world. We'll see you in the next one.